Hey everyone, Paymarine here, and welcome to this very special video. I am just completely blown away, very happy, very humbled, very thankful for everybody that participated and put forward their homebrew chapter for this competition, this contest, or whatever you want to call it. Really, in the end, this is really just, wanted to do something to kind of, again, showcase and help the community and just build those positive vibes and relationships within the community because like I said, I'm just completely just very happy with the response and with everyone that participated. Altogether, there's 28 participants, which is just great. And I mean, it varies from all different types of paint skills, all different types of kind of like lore writing background, age, all different types of ages and everything, and just styles and everything. It's amazing. It's really awesome, and I think this competition is really showcases the fun parts of the hobby of being able to create your own story and create your own army, if you will. So without further ado, I will get into the showcase. So what you're about to see is the pictures that were submitted. Now that's another thing I should mention. Not everybody is a professional photographer. They definitely sent me their best photos that they could, and I communicated with some if I needed something better, if they were able to. But basically in the end, as you watch this video, it's fairly long because there's so many entrants, and I tried to narrate their little lore write-up that they gave me. Again, I'm not a professional voiceover by any means, so bear with me trying to pronunciate things. If I mispronounce things, I apologize. I definitely did my best, but please watch through the whole video in its entirety, and then I'll also have down in the description below different timestamps of each one of the different chapters, so you can go back and look over different ones if you like. And then there will be a link to a SurveyMonkey question, which will have all 28 listed, where I'll ask that you pick your favorite. Now, as of right now, I left out all the names of those that contributed, just put their chapter's name. And that's just a way to hopefully alleviate some people, maybe if they have a friend that's competing, just voting for their friend a bunch of times. I hope that doesn't happen. It's one of those things that I'm doing my best to try to safeguard against that, and if I seem to notice that there's something that seems off, then we may go from there. But yeah, so I've tried to kind of put in a little bit of checks and balances with that aspect of it, and then also I ask that, well, I'm going to have comments turned off on this video, and again, that's just so I don't want anyone to kind of solicit votes in the comments and stuff. I do ask that you share. I'll be sharing it in different groups and stuff, and you can share it and post it, and just I'd ask that when you share that you just ask people to watch the video and visit the link, the SurveyMonkey link, to make their own decision. Don't solicit votes or anything like that. I want to make this as fair as possible. And then the next thing I want to talk about is obviously everyone is going to have their own bias as to how they feel or how they want to vote. Now, what I'm going to get to mostly is this is not a painting competition. It's a hobby competition more. Like I said, there's varying levels of degrees of paint skill and age groups and everything there. So I just definitely applaud everybody putting forth their best effort, and please watch the whole video in its entirety, and then again, go back through it if you have to, and just flip back and forth. Like I said, I'll put those timestamps in the description below, and then have the link to the SurveyMonkey. I'll have that first, and then I'll have the timestamps below that, and then again, please go and vote, and I hope you enjoy this, and I'm excited to see what everybody thinks of everybody's efforts. And then on the 24th is when I set the deadline. Let me make sure that's the correct date. Yes, the 24th. So the 24th at 08, the poll will close, or the question will close, so that I will no longer be able to vote for your favorite as of 08 Eastern Standard Time. And then from there, I will figure out who the winner is, and then I'll make another video showcasing the winner, and then I will also just have the list of everyone that entered with their chapter name and the like whose chapter it is, to give proper credit there at the end of that video. So finally, without further ado, please enjoy and thank you. The Reapers, assumed to be the successors to the Black Templars or Raven Guard, the tactics they employ are derived or borrowed from both stealth and strategy. The Reapers are a non-codex standard chapter. They maintain 13 oversized companies with a secret Zero Company. They are a fleet-based chapter with no home planet. In addition to large numbers of dreadnoughts, the chapter heavily incorporates Freeblade Knights. A recent purge among the companies has resulted in the Reapers becoming a Primaris-only chapter. As a part of their battle rituals, each member of the company paints the chapter's stylized death head on one of their Battle Brothers' armor by hand before battle. Astral Wardens, defenders of the Sirius Nebula, wardens of the Everpeak. A Primaris-only chapter that hails from the planet Anchorage. For 100 years they have defended the nebula. Each company colors its right armor and bears an astral animal on its left pauldron. Dispatched from the Indominus Crusade to bring the light of the Emperor, they march for the Everpeak. On the deepest edge of the Imperium space drifts a long-forgotten vessel, its data core almost completely corrupted. However, one thing remained. These files soon spread throughout the Loyalist chapter, causing them to lose their faith in the Emperor. The files were promptly purged, but by then the damage was done. Seeing how the Emperor's will turns man against man, they splintered off from the Imperium of Man. These traitors forged their own chapter known solely as the Empress's Herd, to spread friendship through the magic of bolter fire. The Iron Templars, once Black Templars, this crusade was cut off and lost for 100 years. They were found once again by the Iron Hands, and they were fixed with their injured limbs being replaced and their memories wiped. They now fight for the Iron Hands. The Ashen Wardens, an Ultima founding chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, sworn to protect the Elysian system and its worlds from the enemies of mankind, under the leadership of the High Warden Istamar Tyro. First given the opportunity to test their mettle against the maniacal forces of the Death Guard when a splinter force from the Connor campaign ravaged its way through the neighboring worlds. Tyro and his Ashen Wardens fought valiantly to rid their home of these vile degenerates and show Mortarian's lapdog the true meaning of the chapter symbol, the keep inviolate. Although the chapter sustained many losses, victory was achieved in the name of the Emperor and the Elysian system, grinding the Death Guard advance to a halt and driving off the repulsive invaders. The Sons of Valitar are a loyalist offshoot of the Thousand Sons who escaped during the burning of Prospero. They made a deal with the Mechanicum Forge world, and for their refuge they stay under the Imperium's radar. Because of this, their low recruitment has them to rely on psychers and vehicles in combat. Tiger Redemptionists. The first Primarch created by the Emperor, Turkaramus, unbeknownst to the others previous, helped create and train the other Primarchs and was on a mission on the other side of the universe when the Horus Heresy broke out. He has now returned to bring his brothers back to the fold, whatever the cost. Redemption is at hand. The Ursadons, or Spacebearers, are a successor of the Space Wolves. They hail mostly from the great tribal clan of Fenris, known as Bearclaw Clan, the same tribe that Arjak Rockfist came from. The Ursadons boast the most skilled artisans within Fenris, and have many dreadnoughts and vehicles accordingly. Hidden deep within the Fang, the Ursadons spend weeks, months, or even years to make the finest wargear and armor for their chapter, so they can combat the greatest threats to humanity. The Ursadons pride themselves in taking on the most dangerous foes so they can make the largest tales and sagas. The Ursadons believe that the greatest creature and the most terrible foe that they can slay is the great worms that stalk the stars. Therefore, they spend much of their time hunting and facing these great foes to prove their strength and worth, often holding hunting parties to attack the fringed fleets of the Tyranid tendrils. The Unforged, a successor chapter to the Salamanders, are a fleet-based Primaris chapter who have been tasked with containing the Chaos forces that are attacking from the storm of the Emperor's wrath within the Imperium Nihilus. Normally broken up into smaller company fleets, sometimes the whole chapter is gathered together to fight off larger and more dangerous threats as they emerge, led by chapter master Jubik Sinos, a charismatic leader who has managed to secure the support of House Ravlin, an Imperial Knight House that has sworn themselves to the chapter after being rescued from Death Guard forces that had almost brought the house to annihilation. They recruit from the local feral and feudal worlds, with the aspirants undergoing the breaking, where they are trained and augmented to become Primaris Space Marines. The Astral Vipers chapter of the Adeptus Astartes was founded sometime around the end of the 39th millennium in response to increasing Xenos activity in the Voodoo region. The Astral Vipers gene seed is officially recorded as being derived from the Blood Angels region. The Astral Vipers chapter, however, do not, on the surface, appear to possess any of the specific strengths or inherent weaknesses common to the Blood Angels and their successors. It has been noted that the similarities in combat doctrine and the joyful abandon that the Battle Brothers of the chapter display in close quarters firefights bear striking similarities to pre-heresy Warhound's Legion. This has led some to suspect that, in fact, the gene seed of the first Astral Vipers may, in fact, have been derived from the stasis vaults of Barisalis Kral, and that of the Warhounds, and thus the Primarch Angron may well have been the preliminary gene sire for this chapter. The Astral Vipers worship an expansive pantheon of spirits, saints, and deities. At the head of this pantheon sits Papa Imp, a deity analogous with the Emperor of mankind. Papa Imp is viewed as the creator and the ocular guide in the Voodoo faith, and although prayed to, it is generally viewed as being above the everyday concerns of this people. It is to the many lesser entities that the chapter and the people offer gifts and petition favors. It is the responsibility of the sergeants to carry enough sweet spirit and low stubs to this unit's pre- and post-battle rituals, although many Beta brothers carry personal stores for this appeasement to the personal patrons and spirits. The Megalodons. Not much is known about this chapter, wrapped in mystery. From a water world with a Forge World moon, they have a strong bond with the Adeptus Mechanicus. The Storm Wraiths were once a chapter that was spurned the knowledge of their founding. The Storm Wraiths have now been identified as one of the missing 8 chapters from the original Apocrypha of Sakros, the very first copy of the Codex Astartes. This also included a list of the original second founding successors of the Ultramarines Legion, known for their heavy usage of heresy-era weaponry and gear as their preference toward close quarters fighting both in firearms and melee. The Storm Wraiths have been a bulwark of defenses of the Segmentum Tempestus, the medieval Alpine moon homeworld of Abnoba Secundus, being not far from the cardinal world of Ophelia VII, allowing them close ties with the modern Excelsiarchy. However, this has not stopped them from crusading across the galaxy, going after particular foes, often in the name of settling grudges to settle the scores of the chapter's Libra Descentis, or Book of Grudges. This has led to the creation of the non-codex standard, non-companied station of Jägermeister, tasked with hunting the most dangerous of the chapter's recent foes. The Celestial Bears are a successor chapter to the second Lost Legion, the Mighty Quasars. Their amazing Primarch Atlas Ursus is in hiding due to being labeled a traitor during the Horus Heresy because he didn't choose a side at that time, choosing to wait out to see what unfolds. Most of his sons went into hiding as well. Leaving the task of gathering them all again is Samson, the first captain under Atlas, now the chapter master. The Celestial Bears will rise again with the help of Ordo Malleus, Inquisitor Frederick Douglass, who was raised on their homeworld of Connachurk in the Eastern Fringe. The Nemean Lions are a 23rd founding chapter from the planet Callius Prime in the Ultima Segmentum. They are an Imperial Fist successor. Being drawn from a tribal people, they conduct hunts of dangerous super predators to gain standing and prowess and display the pelts of their victories on their armor. They favor swift strikes and mobility in combat and utilize lighter vehicles like land speeders and flyers rather than heavy armor like tanks. The current chapter master is Regilius Alcaeus, and they are currently rebuilding after the Indominus Crusade and struggling to reconcile the new Primaris with the older Marines and their long and proud history. The Sons of Corax. Before the Horus Heresy had ended, Corax ordered his best captains and lieutenants to form a chapter in secrecy, to be the shadow of the night. These Marines deal with ship-to-ship assault and boarding parties and some covert operations on land. Their battle cry is, "We are the shadows, the silence of the night." During the Emperor's Great Crusade, he visited a planet the locals called Sandine. They referred to the Emperor as the Storm King for his seeming ability to control the weather. As a symbol of his benevolence, the Emperor left a retinue of warriors, sons of the Primarch Dorn, to live on the planet and to guard the people and act as the first responders of an alien incursion. These warriors lived, trained, and defended their new home. After the heresy, when Guilliman decreed the end of legions and organized chapters, these warriors adopted the name of Storm King's Guard, with First Captain Merrill Karst becoming their chapter master. Upon Guilliman's return, and during the Ultima founding, they were not forgotten, as the transports arrived with their first Primaris reinforcements, reinforcing the war-torn chapter. The Paladin Space Marine chapter. Born from the Lion's gene seed, the Paladins are a Dark Angel's successor. Originally a part of the Primaris reinforcement to the Dark Angels, they were met with high levels of suspicion and were largely unwelcomed. Not having an understanding of the reasons behind this xenophobic attitude, the Marines quickly grew tired of their treatment and requested to form their own successor chapter. They are proud knights, much like their gene-sire, but they lack the knowledge of the past heresy that has tainted the Dark Angels. They have rejected the deep green that the Dark Angels and many of their successor chapters wear, opting instead for a split red and blue scheme with gold trim to distance themselves from their secretive kin. They have, however, begun to experiment with a similar chapter organization as their parent chapter by bringing all of their Gravis armored units under one elite company. Having access to all gene seed, Krall decided to use some of the Traitor Legion seed for his own personal experiments. The War Master was a force to be reckoned with, and so too was his gene seed. Krall created his own guard out of the seed, dubbing them Lupus Luna, a Primaris-only successor to Luna Wolves of old. Templars Errant. At the splitting of the Legion, Rogel Dorn himself gave the Templars Errant their mandate. To ensure there can never be another Horus, they hunt down renegade Astartes, insurgent cults, and planetary governors who believe themselves beyond the rule of imperial law by any means necessary. Stealthy, silent, and deadly. If you know they're there, it's already too late. A chapter brought into prominence during the Indominus Crusade, whose history dates back to the aftermath of the Horus Heresy itself. The Castigator Space Marines have seen countless actions across the Ultima Segmentum as part of the Noctis Aeterna. Reformed with Primaris Marines as part of the Ultima founding, these stalwart defenders of humanity employ a devastating combination of fluid defenses and shocking, sudden strikes to systematically carve up their enemies. as they are currently deployed to stem the tides of Hive Fleet Chronos. These tactics are constantly adapted as the hive mind grows and learns with each engagement. Space Marines of this chapter have several distinct features, most notably the upgraded Mark III helmets favored in order to show off their iron will in the face of an ever-darkening galaxy. The Iron Stalkers, successor of the venerable Iron Hands, originate from the rough and rugged planet of Mephora 4. Much like their parent chapter, they share an affinity towards machines, bionics, and of course, a more direct approach to warfare. What sets them apart from traditional chapters is a disregard of an all-encompassing chapter culture. Each company fields its own traditions and battle tactics. Such an approach leads to fierce competition between the companies. High in the northern mountains of the ice world Fenris lies a very strong and powerful force of space wolves. They were born and bred in the snowy tundra and unforgiving winter. After years of honor and a steadfast dedication to the Emperor Ragnar Blackmane, was given a gift of a highly trained Primaris force of wolves, led by a newly converted Lucas the Trickster. This was seen as a test of the new Primaris Marines. Knowing well how hard the life is on the ice world and how strong the wolves are, the Emperor saw it to be the perfect proving grounds for his new units. After many winters, the new wolves have proven themselves and have secured themselves a seat at the table and will forever have the bloody howl of the wolf. The Skullbearers. Initially, their chapter colors were only yellow, but after an event where they fought alongside the Omega Marines and saved from a Tyranid invading force codenamed the Roach, some of the Omega Marines joined the Skullbearers for their next campaign to honor them. The Sons of Eygptus. Under the rule of Master Amon, the Sons of Eygptus hold a long history of riches and turmoil. Amon fled terror after the death of the Emperor and lived in exile for years until he slowly began building a legion in the name and glory of the Imperium. However, after settling on the planet of Aegyptus, he allied with some less savory characters that have raised some suspicions in the eyes of the Inquisition. The chapter remains loyal to the Emperor and uses its many sorcerers and librarians to shield the planet from the Inquisitors that hunt them. The Void Legion. Formed as a stopgap measure during the outset of the Crucifix Maledictum, the Void Legion comprised of several contingents from various chapters under multiple sector commands that were cut off from reinforcement and supply. Under the orders of the newly awakened Guilliman, the Legion was commissioned to maintain stability in the galactic northeast until the relief could be organized. After several successful campaigns against both Xenos and Chaos, Guilliman maintained the Legion status as it was much easier to control the Imperial asset across the Maledictum. The Ace Bastards. Recently pulled from the fringes of the Imperium, the chapter was a shell of itself, until a clerk who was processing Primaris deployments sent a designated complement of Primaris to the Ace Bastards. With this reinforcements, the chapter may regain its glory and reclaim what it had lost. The Æsir are the protectors of a blackwater ice world from which their first of their chapter originated from. While fleet-based, they rarely leave their star system of their home system, dedicating themselves to the protection of the indigenous people and the imperial truth. To the locals, they are gods, who descend upon the unfaithful on flaming chariots to deliver swift retribution. Being masters of Arctic warfare, they can move through the frozen landscapes of their homeworld without leaving a trace. They favor hit-and-run tactics and avoid fighting styles of chapters like the Ultramarines to minimize the deaths within their ranks. The Knight's Raven, successor to the Blood Ravens chapter, formed from the valid distrust of the librarius role within its parent chapter, a young lieutenant given captaincy, the 8th Company, and then the blessed to serve the Imperium anew by Guilliman and Angelos themselves. The Night Ravens, led by now chapter master Nihilists the Black carve their way through the Immaterium aboard the battle barge Dying Light to bring darkness to the enemies of the Imperium.